You do not look like Anthony.
I know.
Oh, well, what are you going to do? Your hair looks better, though.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. I'm Glenn Hausman. That's Suzanne Begner. Or I should say Dr. Producer Suzanne. Don't worry. Anthony will be here. He's somewhere backstage having technical problems, but surely we will see him soon. Right, Suzanne?
He better be here, but he will. Once he gets his problems resolved.
Or maybe he's just too intimidated by today's guest and he's gonna run away. I don't know. I'm just saying.
It's a good possibility. Listen, when you meet the person in person and then afterwards, maybe he's just like, it's okay. But
yeah. Oh, wait. There he is. All right, we're gonna bring on Anthony. We just get started. Glad that you got that tech issue worked out. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. And you know what, Anthony? You're just in time for me to tell you how awesome it would be to invest in Radisson Hotels America, right? And all of their brands that are now part of the Choice Hotels family can't be beat. Brands like Radisson Blue, Radisson Red, Country Inn, and Suites are all part of the Choice Hotels family, meaning your investment will go farther than ever. Right, guys?
Absolutely. I think it's one of my favorite brands. And hi, Suzanne. Bye, Suzanne.
Yeah. See ya. It's great to see you, Ron. Oh, wait, you're not Ron. You're Anthony.
I mean, what do you think of my beard business here, huh?
It's looking pretty good, man. I love it. But,
yeah, I have a meeting next week that I'm going to have to shave for. But until then, I'm working from home. So it's growing until I got to shave it.
That's pretty cool. Now, next week, I have a lot of meetings because I'm going to be over at the lodging conference. So any of you folks out there, come by, say hello. I'll be hosting a general session, Leaders in Hospitality, next Wednesday with Liam Brown, Group President of Marriott International. He does all of North America. Larry Kukulik, President and CEO of Best Western. George Limbert, President of Red Roof. Michael Lipson, Chairman, CEO of Access Point Financial. And would it be a panel without a host chair? Neil Patel. That should be a lot of fun.
That sounds very intense. What are the questions you're going to ask?
No idea. Here's the thing. Rachel Humphrey is on before me and she's got a panel. So it's going to be my job to listen to what she says and then ask totally different things. So I have no idea what's going to happen.
So wait, you're following Rachel Humphrey?
Yeah, I insisted.
The retired Rachel?
The busiest retiree of all time? Absolutely.
I would not want to follow her. That's like following Eddie Murphy.
I know. It was much better when I had her on a panel. I did the opening panel for My Place a couple of weeks ago during their annual session, their annual conference. And she was on the panel with me. So I was a little bit more comfortable, more my speed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I want to talk about marketing today, Anthony. Budgets it's almost budget season. I'm working on redoing our media kit, for example, right now. And everybody's starting to think about next year. And so much has changed over the last few years. I think connecting with guests is probably a little bit different than some of us are accustomed to. So we're going to welcome to the show Emily Dailey of First Hospitality, where she's VP of Marketing. We're going to talk all of that stuff today. How are you, Emily?
I'm wonderful, Glenn. Thanks so much for having me. Nice to see you again, Anthony.
Nice to see you. What's going on with the back of the wall? I love it. Is that lighting?
I used to have a chalkboard background and I never drew on it. And I was so bored of it that I decided I needed to do something different. So a couple weekends ago, I got a gallon of paint and a lot of Pinterest board work going on, and I did a mural.
Yeah. Nice.
So that is not light. That's white.
I also mounted lights on it. So there are actually lights.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
a multimedia mural experience.
That's pretty cool.
We're talking about marketing. Before we do that, anybody that's known me for the last 20 years, this is my look, either with a tie or without a tie, but this is my look. But Glenn's look changes. Today, it seems like he's remarketing himself, rebranding himself.
No, I'll tell you what's really up is I've got a networking event at 2:00 for people that are into the band Fish. So I'm wearing my official, unofficial Fish shirt over here.
Oh, I was going to say, you're still not wearing my collar stage, but I love
no, this is good. Yeah, I love the shirt. Yesterday I wore quality clothing too, because I wanted to respect Ron.
No. You always wear quality clothing, but that's like more of a like I'm sexy, Glenn.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Wait till I get a haircut later on today. Emily, no, you don't need to comment about my level of sexiness here. This is not what this show is about. But what today's show is about is all about marketing and stuff, right? And I'm finding that it's so difficult to connect with consumers in a real meaningful way because we are so fractured. People were so dependent on all of their programs, the benefit programs that they have. And that's good for the major brands. But at the same time, in my personal life, at least, I'm a member of pretty much every program there is. So at what point does that change the loyalty equation, right? So there's a lot of things going on, I think, right now. How do you tackle this big problem of trying to attract guests in 2023? We'll start with the broad strokes and then we'll kind of go down.
So from a broad strokes perspective, I take it back down to basics. There's a lot of different ways to look at the marketing landscape, and I tend to think we can do it a couple different ways. So there's digital and traditional, and there's also owned and third party. And so I define those as digital is anything that happens on the computer, traditional is anything that's written or printed or whatever. And then I'm also thinking about that owned, which is anything I have direct control over, like my website, anything that happens in the physical space of my hotel, any print media that I put out. And third party is anything I don't have control over. So that's OTAs, any of my online listings, all of that stuff. So when I'm thinking about my marketing, the first thing I go to is what do I have the most control over for the longest amount of time? So I usually do digital and owned first. So I'm focusing on website, and then I build out from there, digital third party, and then owned traditional, and then digital third party. So I sort of break it down that way.
You know what? This is you got so much great information here. It sounds like you went to Indian River State College.
I did.
Or Dr. Producer Suzanne.
I did. And guess, in fact, who my keynote speaker was, depending on where he is on the screen right now, is Mr. Anthony Melchiori.
My teacher was who? Anthony Melchiori?
You were. I have a picture of you with me in my cap and gown and everything.
I have two questions for you. The first question, that day that I gave I hate to say speech, but the day we had a conversation, what resonated with you that day that I said? Is there one thing that you took away from that day? It's like, you know what? I haven't thought that way before.
One of the things that it didn't necessarily make me see something in a different way, but it sort of reinforced for me is you and I both didn't come from super easy backgrounds at all. And you went through the military route to go to college and go on to the hospitality industry. I was in junior ROTC and was this close to going to senior ROTC before I started in hospitality. And after leaving college, I worked my way through the industry over the last 15 years to be able to earn my college degree. So it was it reinforced for me the opportunities that hard work in this particular industry can allow us. This is an industry where of all the other industries that we deal with, first of all, it's the third largest export in the United States is tourism. And secondarily, this industry is one where you can have the highest income for the lowest degree level. You really can come in as like a dishwasher and just get yourself moved on in the industry. So your story was something that really resonated deeply with me, is something that that I've seen in my own life, but you don't often get to understand the stories of people at the head of our industry, leaders of our industry, that might have gone through something similar. So it was really lovely from that perspective to get sort of see behind the curtain on that.
And I remember meeting you, and I remember the warmth I got from you. There was this connection that we understood each other almost immediately. So thank you very much for that. Getting back to marketing, one of the things that I'll tell you what's working for me, Glenn.
Yeah.
Amazon says, okay, you bought this or you buy that. So that works, right? Yep. But I can't tell you how many times I've Googled things when I saw them on TikTok. Like an advertisement on TikTok works. I'm telling you, it works.
I believe you.
I thought probably, matter of fact, there was a advertisement for some kind of sneakers. And I said, oh, you know what? I need sneakers. And I went on Amazon, bought my sneakers I always buy, my size 11, extra, triple, quadruple wide New Balance.
Yep.
But it reminded me I needed sneakers. But there's so many other things, whether it be a tool. There was just this thing that I saw. I was like, oh, I gotta get that. So, a lot of people say TikTok and things, that kind of advertising is for the younger generation. That's crap. I mean, you put a really good, package out there, vacation package, hotel package, new hotel, and it comes up in my videos. I'm probably going to click on it and watch it. What do you think, Emily?
That's a really great point. And I'm the token millennial in a lot of rooms. So I, for many years in marketing, have gotten the whole, oh, it's only your people who do that channel. And that's not true. I'm not on Facebook anymore personally, but my grandmother is on Facebook.
Right. That's right.
And so I think the most important thing is meeting people where they are. And I think a lot of people are resistant to going out and doing something because they have this preconceived notion about who it's for or who it isn't. But frankly, these channels change so much that the demographics can change day to day, week to week, month to month, depending on the new features that come out.
The demographics of TikTok is not what it was like for Instagram. TikTok, everybody's on it.
That's absolutely right.
Generations on it. I'm telling you, I was telling a story the other day. There's this old gentleman next to me when I was at a poker table one day, and I'm looking, and this guy's like 68 years old, 70 years old, and he's like having a good time going through his videos on TikTok. So, marketing today. And also, one of the things that I found interesting in my career is there's a significant difference between marketing and public relations, PR. And I am really more, my personality is more for PR. I love PR. Right, marketing is a lot of it is strategic.
So Anthony, let's just put a pin in that to explain the differences between public relations and PR. Where, public relations, which is PR, and marketing. Public relations is convincing people to write about you and give you free publicity, where marketing is typically paid for. So please continue.
And they work hand in hand.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, I had no budget at one of my hotels where I did this marketing campaign or PR campaign. And I said, oh, wow, if I pay X amount of dollars a month to this PR company, I get all this free advertising. And it worked. And it popped. And it kept on popping. And another popped and popped and popped and popped. So I was always been, even again, getting myself where, how do I start a consulting business, get people to know me when I don't have millions of dollars for marketing? Let me do a PR campaign called a hotel show, which popped, and all of a sudden I'm the guy people are asking to come, speak or whatever. So that was I love the industry. I want to teach the industry, but it was also public relations for myself to get myself kind of in front. And I don't have a lot of patience, so I don't want to take the long route.
They do work hand in hand though, right? So if you're good at PR, you've got the long form content. That means you're on podcasts, you're on panels, you're writing articles, and that's long form content. That is great fodder for marketing and social media, which I view as two different things, right? So that's great for paid marketing, and it's also good for organic and paid social media. So I'd argue, Anthony, that while you focus on PR, you're a marketing machine, because everything that you say is a potential quote that can be put in a reel on TikTok. I do want to add in addition to TikTok, my friends all have kids that are just about middle school and high school age right now, and they're not allowed to be on TikTok. However, they are allowed to be on YouTube, and YouTube has all these TikTok video compilations. So TikTok is one of those things that people are then taking it and posting those TikTok reels on Instagram or Facebook. Or
YouTube is also copying them and doing those short form videos now. They're just calling them shorts.
Yeah, but YouTube seems more dangerous than TikTok.
Yes, I would not disagree with that.
You can get everything on YouTube. You can't get any of that sexy stuff on TikTok, but everything is on YouTube. Everything is on Google. I would not want my kids, whatever. Maybe they have some filters or whatever.
I think your kids are old enough that they can handle.
I don't let Glenn go on TikTok or YouTube.
Well, I'm not mature enough for it. Next year, maybe, I'm told. Anthony's saying if I'm a good boy, maybe.
And it sounds like, Anthony, you're blowing through the TikTok budget for the two of you anyway. So if the show's only got a certain budget and you're buying everything you see on TikTok, you can't afford Glenn being on there anyway.
Listen, this was a profitable venture until he started buying stuff on TikTok. But I will say I am going to be headed down in that direction, and I'm working out my strategy for that right now. So stay tuned for that. That'll be exciting. At least for me. I don't know about the universe. So Emily, back to marketing.
Can we put a time on that venture? You need timestamps. So tell me when. I want to know.
I will say be within the next 6 weeks.
Okay, so that means within the middle of this year, it'll be on TikTok.
Yeah, I think the issue, sometime before 2028. Yeah, the only problem is I'm traveling like almost every week, it seems, between now and December. But that's a me problem. You all don't have to worry about that. Emily, back to marketing. We're here to empower people to be more successful when it comes to their marketing. So it's I think what we're getting here is you got to understand each platform that you're looking at and crafting information, content, or a spend that really appeals to those people that are most interested in that. So for your grandmother on Facebook would be a little bit different than the type of content you might be on TikTok. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. Each channel, and again, whether that's social media channels, which is just a small piece of this whole ecosystem, or if it's paid advertisements on Google, you want to make sure that you're clear about who your audience is there, and you'll need to tailor your content. A lot of it can be used like a gorgeous photo of a lifestyle shot in a guest room at a hotel, or a video of your bartender making your signature cocktail. You can use those across channels, but the way you're targeting the copy that goes along with that, or the call to action that's associated with it, that'll change depending on the channel.
Yeah, I was just watching a TikTok from Gary Vee. Do you know who Gary Vee is?
Mm-hmm.
You know who Gary Vee is, Glenn?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, well, of course. I don't know. You know who he is.
Come on, I'm hipping with it.
He said something very interesting. He said, if you're going to put something, it depends on what channel, is you want it to go viral, you want it to be authentic. So there's no advertising content. It's just you're doing what you're doing, whatever it is, whatever you want to sell. You do it authentically, and you do it in a way where it gets eyeballs. Then you piece that out, and then that same piece, once you get it where it has eyeballs and it has some growth potential, then you start putting it, and you start putting maybe a 20-second clip with advertising, with the ability to react to that advertising and buy that product, whatever it is. And I intuitively, that makes, I was like, oh yeah, of course. But I never really thought of it that way.
Yeah, we definitely do. So again, I'll go back to that quadrant. I always start with owned and digital first. So if you have the podcast and the video component of the podcast, that's owned. You own all of this content, and it's big and it's digital. So then you take that and you parse it out. So this could be 20 different copy-based social posts. It could be 3 different visual Google advertisements. You take the big piece, and then you cut it down. It's sort of like when you're doing a batch meal prep. You prep for the whole week, but you're not going to feed yourself 7 days worth of food in one day. You're going to break
yourself, it out. Young lady.
You're gonna break it out piece by piece so that it's most effective. And you might package it differently. I might want my peas separate from my protein, but somebody else might want it all mixed together. So how you package it when you put it out is going to be a little bit different. So yeah, I always go with the biggest. I think of it as impact, what's going to last the longest or generate the most amount of revenue.
And sometimes you don't know, right? Sometimes you're shocked.
Right.
Like I put out a video about my tie, and I got a tie, and I thought that would do well, and it did. It got 600,000 views instantly. But then I put out a video on how to get an upgrade. It got 1.3 million quicker than the 500 or 600,000. And you'd be happy to know, Emily, that we're doing that now.
Yay.
Explain how we're cutting up our content and putting it back on social media.
That's right, Emily. We're taking a page out of the book that you're reading to us right now, because what we're doing is we're taking an episode such as this, and then we'll do like a short 1.5-minute clip of you saying something brilliant, which is going to happen in about 35 seconds. And then we got audiograms that we're doing. We've got quotes and all of these types of components to be able to reutilize all of this content. So for you folks out there, you're putting all this effort into creating content for your hotels. The best thing that you could do is give it that long tail by using it in a lot of different ways. Right, Emily?
Yeah, I would agree. However, I do want to make sure that we go back to the basics, because most of the audience here is going to be hotels and restaurants and people in the travel and tourism industry.
And I should say, First Hospitality has a whole restaurant and bar group to it.
Yes.
So you know what you're talking about here with experience. Okay. Back to the basics.
And I've been marketing for restaurants for probably about a decade now. And not just like a restaurant in a hotel, but we really want something that has its own individual draw. It's really important.
And I should say, Anthony, they have I think you have a bunch of restaurants out in Jupiter, Florida. Is that
right? Not right now. No.
Okay, sorry. My apologies.
Yeah,
Go on.
that's okay. No stress at all. But yeah, so it's important to make sure that we're addressing with those hotels and restaurants that whatever your content is, you have a goal in mind. So if it's conversion, if you want somebody to book a table or you want somebody to book a hotel room, you need to have a place for them to do that. So that means that you have to start in your own yard first. So does your website allow people to convert? If you're in a branded ecosystem, you're probably fine because you probably have a brand.com website, and then you can go ahead and people will book their reservation from there. But if you're a lifestyle hotel or you're an independent hotel or you're a restaurant, you need to make sure that you've got a website with the capabilities to accept those bookings, because all of this content is fine and good, but it's just fluff if nobody can take action on it. It's not going to drive any revenue for you.
Right.
And authenticity is so important in marketing. And, like when people say, what do we want our voice to be, whatever hotel or restaurant it is, that should have really been kind of established when the owner decided why he wanted to open this restaurant or why they wanted to open this hotel, or what are their roots to the town, or what are their roots to the area. And to me, the worst marketing and the worst PR, and I've unfortunately been in meetings where I just want to crawl under the table, is when people are trying to make stuff up. I write about something.
Yeah.
I wrote about something recently where I ran a bread company. A lot of people don't know that. And it was one of the largest bread companies in the city, and it was called H.A. Pines Behold the Bread. It's now the largest artisan bread company in the world, and Campbell Soup owned it and whatever. So when we were just a small company and I was working for these owners, H.A. Pines means Behold the Bread. And the PR company that we hired, and I knew nothing about PR, I was maybe 26, 27 years old. After we told them how special the bread was to the owner and how important it was to the owner, one of their ideas was to juggle bread outside our retail locations. That they were going to take the bread and juggle the bread. I was like, check, please. I was just like, I'm sitting there again. I was young. The owner was there. My marketing person was there. And I'm squeezing my head. And I didn't know much, but I knew that was wrong. And it's like, and then we started being authentic and it worked. But anyway, so it's
that's a really great point. And that goes back to your branding. That's sort of where that starts. And sometimes you get into a ecosystem where that's good and you've got it already.
Right.
So again, if you're opening a Courtyard or a Marriott or a Hilton or a Hyatt or a Radisson, whatever, if you're opening one of those hotels, the brands have often provided that for you. And so you really just need to lean into that. And if there's a different accent on it because it's your market, that's perfectly fine. But again, for those independent properties or those soft brands or your restaurants, I find a lot of times what people think of as branding is the logo and the color, and that's not enough. So it's really got to be the brand voice.
And the color should feel like the person that's
absolutely.
I helped a friend of mine open up a Muay Thai gym, and I remember him doing it. And I said, "What symbol motivates you?" And he gave it to me. I said, "What words motivate you?" And he gave it to me. And we took those things, we put them down, and I think his wife, who's a wonderful marketer, put it together, and that was his logo. And he goes, "Yeah, but," I said, "Yeah, but nothing." I said, "Yeah, but nothing. That's your logo. There's no there." "Well, how about it?" "No. Do you like it when you open that door in the morning? Does it resonate with you? Does it give you passion? Does it make you want to work harder?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "That's the logo."
And then you'll find your people that way, right? Like if you're truly authentic with who you are, what you want to be, if you want to be a kick-ass business class hotel and you are really into the market, let's call it a Rust Belt market that you're in, and you really like it and you want to sink into that area, what does that look like for you? What does that feel like for you? And when you roll that flag up, people are going to go, "I get it. I get that." And so everything that comes out, it's really easy to say yay or nay. Yes, this is that hotel, or no, it is not that hotel.
So Emily, how do you do an authenticity check? Authenticity, of course, is a word that's been completely overused, and I don't think people really understand what that means anymore. So how do you actually be truly authentic instead of just playing the part on TV, as they would say?
Yeah, well, you can't do an authenticity check if you don't know who you are, right? So that goes for businesses too. So if you have a brand, I literally will pull out the brand deck and say, very simply, this happens with restaurants all the time. They'll submit a menu and you look at it and you go, all right, this isn't your font. This isn't laid out the way that the other ones were laid out, so it doesn't follow this pattern. That's an easy one, a visual check to say, is this your color, font, logo? Does the layout make sense?
Right.
And then relative to voice, whether it's a piece of media content or whatever the case might be, I take that brand deck and I open it up and I'm looking at the language that's there. I'm looking at the feelings that are there. A good brand guide will influence your marketing. We're working on this for our organization right now, working on our brand re-articulation, and that starts with our mission, vision, and values, and that goes into what our brand voice is, what words would we actually use or what words would we not use. And so you can literally look at that guide if you've got it and say, this is traditional, or this is classic without being traditional. And being able to sort of find that, does it fit within these parameters, is a good way to do it. But you've got to have that document together or those concepts together first. Ideally, you're going to be in a hotel or a restaurant and it's going to be successful for many, many years, and you're going to shift into different places of the organization, and you want other people to be able to come in and take that baton from you and carry it their distance and hand it on to somebody else and have that happen flawlessly. So if you go, how am I supposed to do an authenticity check? I don't have any of these documents. Well, that's a good place to start. If you don't have those things together, how do you codify your branding so that it makes your marketing so much easier in the future?
I remember
and your PR.
I remember when I was VP of Nickelodeon Resorts, and I sat down with the guys from Nickelodeon, and they handed me the brand guide. And at this point, I've run hotels, I turned around hotels. I've never been handed a brand guide. I don't know what a brand guide is. I didn't work for corporates. I worked for mom and pop. And he handed me a guide that was this big, and it was beautiful. And it was like, if I gave that to a kid in fourth grade or first grade, they would have so much fun, because it was everything Nickelodeon is. It was
fuzzy, orange, green, slimy, all the good things.
All of it. And but it put it in a way of, okay, if you use this kind of signage, this is what you use, but you don't use this. But it didn't do it in a corporate book of this is what Nickelodeon is.
It can be fun.
I literally could have given it to a kindergarten kid, and he would have thought this was his his coloring book. It was so much fun. And it really kind of brought me to the brand. Because I'm not a Nickelodeon guy. My kids were, but I didn't really understand how to bring that to life. Right. And once I got that guide, it made me want to have fun. It really made me. Matter of fact, the first thing I did was I told my team, I said, "Which character do I look like?" And they went out and got. They got what's the Avatar?
I would say Barf from You Can't Do That on Television.
Oh, the Avatar, the bald guy, the bald one.
From which show?
I don't know, but it's Avatar. His name's Avatar. It's a character, and he's bald. He looks.
I only know Nickelodeon from 1982.
And so
Same here. I'm a '90s Nickelodeon kid. I would have said something from the Rugrats.
So somebody, I'll look it up. But somebody, or Suzanne, look up Avatar. So please. So somebody from somewhere in Nickelodeon sent us a 4-foot plastic avatar that I had at my desk. And it was it got me into the mood. The brand book got me in the mood, and I started, making fun of myself. And that's really what Nickelodeon is. It's having fun. And so a brand guide, a lot of people don't talk about that, or they just try to wing it. Oh, we're not Marriott, we're not Hilton. No. Kimpton wasn't Kimpton. Graduate Hotel wasn't Graduate Hotel. They know what they were the second they put, dirt in the ground. That's why bigger companies buy them.
Right.
And then, by the way, you win Best Backdrop.
Avatar: The Last Airbender? Is that what you're talking about?
That makes a lot more sense. I was like, Avatar? Which Avatar?
Let me see. Pull it up. Which one?
Hold on. I'm going to bring up the let me share the link.
I thought it was what do you call it? I thought it was
all right, everybody. Hang tight. Here we go. This?
Yeah, the guy in the front.
Yeah. All right.
That doesn't look like me. Big ears.
Yeah,
that looks like me. So yeah, I had one.
I mean, it doesn't as much since you removed that giant arrow from your head, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
you can't have both. You can either have a beard or a head tattoo. You can't have both.
But, that's true. That's true. But back in the day, I didn't have an arrow on my head. I had an X on my back. People wanted to shoot me. But anyway, so yeah, I love everything you're saying. I really love like even how you market yourself. Like I love your background. You win best background. I just love it. Not my
Thank you.
colors. Those are not
I
colors that-
wanted something that reflected who I am. And I know my
Right.
core values are creative, inquisitive, and nurturing. And so I needed something that was engaging. And
Wow.
I'm a painter, so I needed it to be something that truly reflected who I
Those-
was and was bright. So it was a very conscious decision.
I
So
love it.
what were those words again?
Creative, inquisitive, and nurturing.
Reminds me of the former Starwood company. They would do everything like that in groups of 3 words to be able to understand what the branding was. I love that. That's
And that,
great.
I like lists of 3 too. It just feels good. 5 is actually my favorite numbers, but 3 is easier to remember. So
Really?
mhm.
Oh, that's cool.
And like I said, those colors aren't my colors. Those are not colors I'd have on my wall. But I love the fact that I can tell that that resonates with you, and it's pretty. It's really well done. It's real. I love the light. I just so you win best background.
I'm
I'll
going
take the
to
title.
argue that I have the best background according to Emily because I'm at the Hotel Levesque, which is
You
one of your properties
are. We
in,
love that
in Columbus,
property.
Ohio. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that property and give us some examples of, how you feel its branding is reflected in the way that you're doing marketing and public relations. And then we can move on to a branded type.
Well, I have to give a shout out to my marketing manager, Holly Hollingsworth, who's been working with the Hotel Levesque in Columbus, Ohio since before it opened, and she is brilliant. Their general manager, Jerry Lombard, has also been integral in making sure that that brand continues to shine, literally. That is an historic property. The building is an historic building. And so they knew that they wanted to pull that through. But one of the elements of that brand that they really incorporated was the stars and celestial bodies. There's some beautiful murals that are in the property that relate to night sky. And there's some beautiful elements. We carry it through in marketing all of the time, but our marketing has to reflect the experience you have on property. And that's something that a lot of people miss too, is they think that, the marketing is a separate thing and you can do a cool package and people will come. But if they don't feel it when they get there, it sort of falls flat and they probably won't come back again. So at that property, we do a lot of things, a lot of activations that have to do with the night sky, but the installation behind the front desk is a celestial background. There's a lot of blues and yellows. There's a package where you can get in the room and there's actually a light, like a star map that you can put in the room and it will project on the ceiling.
Cool.
So there's a lot of that pulled through everywhere. It's in the logo, it's in the installations on property, it's in the artwork in the guest rooms, it's in the packages in the guest rooms. It's in the marketing that we put together. It's on the website when you look at their vanity website. So it's really pulled throughout the look and feel of the property. So they knew that they wanted to pay homage to this gorgeous building and some of the items that were already in it. And how do they take people through this journey and do that?
Speaking of gorgeous building, let me go outside so we can show you the rest of the property over here. Oh, wait, I got to delete a picture in order to get that one up. Give me a sec. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we don't want to see that picture, Glenn.
No, you don't want to see this one. There we go. I'm bringing it up now, everybody. All right. This is a beautiful, very classic looking property. There you go. Right there.
Yeah, there you go. Wow.
And we even use it in our lifestyle photos, right? So we have this gorgeous exterior shot from the river in Columbus, and it was intentionally done with long exposure. So you see the whole tower of the Levesque Tower, and you also see the blanket of stars that were out that night, and the moon is full in that photo. So there's some really cool ways that you can pull that through in all your visual content. We also have close-ups in our detail shots of the rooms of things like telescopes. And in the image you had last, there was a photo behind you that's a
and if you ever need a great photographer, a great hotel photographer, let me know. I have one. He's actually in Florida too. But what's the background of that hotel?
The background of that hotel?
History. Do you know the history off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but I know that it's on the Hotel Levesque website. And it was a passion project for our team when they were in development with it. So we're working on redoing the First Hospitality website right now to focus on all the great sort of development, adaptive reuse, especially, that we really like to do. And this is sort of the crowning jewel. Sorry, what was that?
How many hotels you have?
Just about 50 right now. We've taken on management of a few more this week, actually. So I think we're right at 50 now.
Now, are you owner operated too, or just all management?
Yep. So it's third-party management, and then there's a section of First Hospitality that's called First Investors. So we do have legacy properties that are owned in part by the board members of First Hospitality. So it's a combination, about 50-50 split of ones that we have an owner interest in and ones that we manage for other
It's
people.
always better to have a management company that owns their own hotels.
Yeah.
You get it. You get the perspective. You have sort of we sort of have an ownership culture, right, where people take a personal vested interest in the success of their properties, and we understand what asset managers ask for because we have asset managers.
Yeah.
So
speaking of asset managers, Anthony and I are going to be in Chicago, where you guys are your home base is, for the Hospitality Asset Managers Association. We're doing a keynote
awesome. We'll have a couple of our teammates there, and we actually just relocated to downtown Chicago to a gorgeous new office in the Willis Tower
Nice.
just in June. So
I'm sorry,
beautiful.
it's still the Sears Tower to me.
I know. I feel the same way. Wait, it's across from it. It's
Hey,
not
Glenn.
the Willis
Yeah.
Tower. What is it? It's the
I'm sorry.
Franklin building.
You know why I'm laughing? When is that event?
The 14th of October.
Because it came up. I got an email and I sent it to Clinger. I go, what is this? She goes, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I go, we'll find out what it is. And just probably calling them saying, what is this? It wasn't on my calendar. Sorry about that.
No, that's all good. So I'm at the Hotel Levesque, right? But I'm only here because you sent me out like maybe a great marketing email or something. What's going to capture that guest's attention and get them to want to, click to buy?
Yeah, so that's a great point, and I just want to quickly address the fact that we are in the cookie jar is empty world for marketing right now. So we don't have all the data on every person who's online that we used to.
Right.
So cookies, for those of you who don't know, I don't want to assume anybody who's listening knows what they are, but it's essentially a piece of code that allows us to see a person when they enter essentially their journey through the web. So anytime you hit my website, I know that you, Glenn Hausman, have been there because I see the Glenn Hausman cookie.
Do you?
However,
because I'm rejecting all non-essential cookies
exactly
these days.
Because of that, we have a lot of travelers that are and website visitors that we don't have any data on. So it's really important that, again, like we talked about earlier, that your brand is really strong and you're rolling up that flag appropriately. So people who are interested in you know that they should be interested in you and that you like them. First, when we're looking for getting somebody to click to buy, the first piece is there's a lot that happens in that sales cycle before somebody chooses to click to buy. So there's a really large pyramid. Only about 3% of people who visit you are ready to buy right now.
Wow.
Only 3% of people. And so you might get that person at that time, and there's a good likelihood that they're going to see that ad and they're going to click on it and they're going to book a hotel room. But that means that there's 97% of people who don't think that they want your business, or they're not ready to make a purchase like that, or they just aren't aware of your business. So we need
or that trip to Columbus is aspirational and they're just thinking about it. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a lot of other places in that sales cycle. So you have to realize that a lot of the marketing that we're doing is just building awareness so that when people are finally like, I'm ready to go to Columbus, they think of the Hotel Levesque because they've seen you before and they know you. So it's, first of all, you just can't take it personally that not everybody's going to click, and you have to make sure that your brand is really clear throughout. A lot of things that people miss when they're doing marketing is a call to action. So it seems really stupid, but if you're putting a photo of your hotel out on social, or you're doing a video of the hotel for TikTok, can somebody click on that and book a reservation? Because you don't want to miss those 3% of people. There's only 3% of them.
Right.
So a call to action is really important for all of that. Making sure that your branding is sound for all of that. Making sure that you're clear about what your offers are. And one thing, I was just at the Inbound Marketing Conference in Boston last week, and it reinforced something that I knew to be true, but it was great to see that other industries are recognizing this as well. The COVID impacted digital consumer trends are going to continue. So people are doing their purchasing online a lot more than they were before. They're doing all of their shopping online much more than they have before, and those trends are likely to continue.
Agreed.
So that means you have to have self-service, and we miss the mark on that a lot in hotels. I'll give you an example about weddings. You go to a hotel website and you look at weddings, you might get the floor plan and maybe the banquet menu.
Mostly you're forced to call somebody who's not necessarily going to call you back. Right.
You're forced to meet in person. You're forced to go through this very long sales process. And there's not this option to say, if I have this many people and this is the protein that I want, generally, how much would it cost me? And can I have a virtual tour of your property, which we do at about half of our hotels across the portfolio? We use virtual tours. So those are things.
Could you just clarify that? You may not need half your portfolio. If it's a Hampton Inn, you may not need that, right? You're not saying you didn't get to it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a intentional choice. Some of our very simple select serve properties might not need to have robust virtual tours. And of course, we don't want to spend marketing dollars just to spend marketing dollars. We want to spend marketing dollars and get a return.
Right. Yay.
So I would say that when you want to get somebody to click to buy, first recognize that most of the people who see those eyeballs are not going to be fingers, which means that they'll see it, but they won't click. And that's okay. So make sure that your brand is clear. Make sure you have a call to action for those 3% of people who do choose to click, and make sure that when they get there, they can take it from the I'm curious about this to I'd like to purchase it without any hiccups. So do you have a landing page that goes directly to the package you're talking about, or do they have to fumble through your website to find it? Self-service, keep it digital, keep it on brand, make sure there's a clear call to action.
Yeah, Delta does a good job of trying to freak me out by saying only 3 tickets left at this price. You know, that kind of stuff.
I know. There's a lot of those psychological things. I tend to be a pretty ethical marketer, so I don't want to be like, I don't like the fear-based marketing of there's only or open now because this will be gone tomorrow. I understand it, and we certainly do it when it's appropriate, but I'm not a fan of it just because I like to be a nice marketer.
There was a concert that I went to. I won't name the concert. And it said only, like, again, limited tickets, book now. I went there and like half the seats were empty.
Right. So that's the thing is, like, if you're saying it because there are actually only a couple tickets left at that price, you know, a lot of events will do this. There's a point of time where you have your pre-sale tickets, and after a certain date it costs X amount of dollars, and after a certain date it costs X amount of dollars. That makes sense, right? And on the hotel side, all of our rooms, hopefully, gosh, I hope everybody's using revenue management now, and you're adjusting your rates based off of occupancy, please. If not, call for help, like, please. And that makes a lot of sense, right? You have your rates that fluctuate to say, hey, usually by this date, our rates go up. So book early if you have the opportunity to, book direct.
So Kyle, Kyle, who watches our show often, he says he went to Disneyland a day ago and looked up how much a hotel was for some dates in the future. He got an email a few hours later from Disney saying the price changed. Book now for the best rate. What do you think of something like that?
I think that would be fine if the price went down. Great. Right. That sounds like you could get a deal, Kyle. Go for it. Enjoy Disney. And that's a good example of there's likely you have opted into some of those cookies. So you hit the marketing system and you've either said, yes, you can email me about these, or you've said, I'm a loyal Disney customer and I'd like for you to have a relationship with me and let me know when there's stuff that's available for me. I'm a Southwest person, so the same sort of thing happens, right? You get an email and they say there's companion passes that are available if you book a flight between now and Friday. They want you to take action. There's, quotas they're hoping to fill, and that's fine. I have a relationship with them. I've opted in to have that relationship. I want to be in communication. But are those things helpful for me? If I'm looking at those dates and I've gone in and I've said, these are the dates I'm thinking of traveling, and then they email me and say, hey, those dates you were looking at, there's a better price on those. You should book now before they go up. That's super helpful. But if they're like, hey, we saw you were on this other website buying flip-flops, and we think that might mean you're coming down to Disney in January, that's creepy. So are you being helpful or are you being creepy? I always vote for helpful.
I like that. There's too much creepy out there. That's for sure. It's like I'll mention something in my kitchen to somebody, and then I go to my computer in a different part of the house, and all of a sudden I'm getting ads for it. You know, it's just
dude. That just happened this morning.
I will creep you out. Okay, so a lot of people think that that's because their computers are listening to them, but that is not true. Why that happens is because a lot of big marketing firms have built an ecosystem of data points about you, and they indicate that if you like that pair of sneakers in the color blue and you listen to the song in the morning, there's a high likelihood that you will purchase this particular product if they serve it to you at the right time. And the right time is between 3 and 4 p.m. on X day. So it's not because they heard you and they're following you. It's because all of your other data indicates to them that the algorithm says you'll purchase this thing at this time. It's much
Interesting.
creepier.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
I
listening all the
agree
time.
with what you said, but I still think that they're listening, because I'm going to say right now, I want a red silky bathrobe. At 4:00 this afternoon, there'll be a red silky bathrobe for sale on my Amazon.
Only if that's the psychological profile for the time of day that somebody's most willing to buy that kind of a bathrobe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, it seems
So-
like I buy everything at 10 o'clock at night. But before we go on, Emily, can I ask
sorry.
a completely irrelevant question?
Absolutely. Can I give you a completely irrelevant answer?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
In listening to you, meeting you, and I said I felt this warmth immediately when I met you, and you're extremely articulate. You know what the hell you're talking about. As a general manager and as a person that runs hotels, I don't have a lot of time for bullshit and nonsense and people telling me a lot of stuff. Like, I would hire you on the spot and say, go fix that, and then come to our executive meetings and tell us what to do. Like, literally, I would hire you that quick, just based on this conversation. I mean that. Why did two things? One, why did marketing really kind of why did you have a passion for that? And number two, what makes you better than anybody else in marketing?
Well, first I'll give you your completely irrelevant answer, which is pomegranate tree, and then I'll give you your real answer. And the real answer is I actually had a background in theater production and design. And so my passion was in, putting scripts together and putting sets together and all of that. And so when I started in hotels, I started working at the front desk, and I was like, oh my God, this is theater. There's signature smells and there's signature music, and I'm in a set, and it has to be reset every time somebody's here, and somebody's on stage and they're on stage and I'm on stage and we're talking to each other. This is great. So it really captivated my curiosity and my creativity and my nurturing, all the things that are values of mine that I hold really important and dear. And when I moved from a Marriott, which was the first property that I was at, I moved from Marriott to Renaissance. And just as they were doing their rebranding, and they went with the Jonathan Adler design, custom reed diffusers and the colors of the day set and the night set. And I met their brand advocate at that hotel, and I was enthralled. I was like, how do I do that? I want to get farther back in the process and work on branding and telling the story. And it took several more years for that to happen. I was there for 3 years. I was in operations in Michigan for a few more years. And then I had one of my dear mentors, Paul Wood, at the time was the VP of Revenue Generation at the company that I was working at. And he came up, and I was working at the front desk, and I had Facebook open. And he's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, let me show you. I'm doing review responses for us on Facebook. And I also have Expedia and TripAdvisor and Booking and Google My Business open. I'm doing our review responses there. Do we do this at our other hotels, and why not? And how do we do that? And he, over the course of several months, sort of had this position. We started having discussion about, if there was a position like that, what would it look like? If there was a position like that, what should it pay? If there was a position like that, would you want it? Because there's a position like that. And I was like, yeah. And at the same time, there was an opportunity to take over the front office management position in an Autograph Collection hotel. And I knew that path. I know that path leads to, FOM, AGM, GM, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I knew that path, but I didn't know where reputation management would go. And so I had a feeling it would take me closer to branding, which I was really interested in. So I did that. And then I built a reputation management program for that entire company. And then I incorporated digital marketing. So I did social media and listings management. And then I built out a social media champion training program. And then I started doing full-blown digital marketing. And I haven't looked back, because it's all the things I love all the time.
And you just gave me the answer to the question of why the hotel business, right? When people ask me, and you said it so beautifully and perfectly, and it makes so much sense. My daughter's in theater, and there was something, that's why I asked the question, there was something different about you. And when you're in theater at 11 years old and 6 years old and 12 years old and 20 years old, you're on time, you're prepared, you're ready, you're being judged, you have to be creative. My daughter just got cast in the lead of A Few Good Men as the Demi Moore.
Congratulations, that's awesome. Break a leg.
And she's 23 years old, and she's going to be a theater teacher. She managed the North Broadway Theater, and the way she shows up is very much like yourself, like just very kind of like you've been judged for so long, because in theater, like even the wall behind you, someone would if you were in theater, you would make that wall, but you wouldn't put lights on it because you're in theater. You're like, you need lights. So
Gotta have
That's
everything.
awesome. So, Emily, I've got we're getting real low on time, but I got to ask you this question before moving on to one more topic. Things are changing so quickly, right? When you were talking about reputation management, that was probably something that was a relatively new phenomenon. Now it seems like standard way of doing business.
Right.
How do you keep learning and understanding today and tomorrow's best practices?
That's a great question, Glenn. And I ask that in every interview to every marketing person that I hire, because it changes so fast.
Yeah.
Like the metaverse is coming. What are we going to do about it? First, I like to engage with the industry information as it is right now. So engagement with things like American Hotel and Lodging Association or the Hotel Sales and Marketing Association International. I have my certified hospitality digital marketing distinction. So I recommend understanding the best of the best in the industry right now. I also recommend networking within the industry, which those organizations allow you to do. So you know what other people at other companies are doing. And you'll find that in hospitality, you have a lot of hoteliers who are very friendly and accommodating, and we end up being a big community. So if you're not in a competing market, and sometimes if you are, they're still going to help you and give you information that's helpful. I also find it's extremely important to understand what's going on in other industries. So that's part of why I participate in the Inbound conference, because hotels move a little slowly relative to trends. So I want to know what's going on in tech. I want to know what's going on in I want to know what's going on in tech. I want to know what's going on in pharmaceuticals. I want to know what's going on in consumer apparel and stuff like that.
Right,
so
like
I
sneaker
look at
sales being on TikTok.
Exactly.
Right.
Precisely, Glenn. Way to bring the conversation all the way around.
Hey, thanks. All right. So I do want to talk about one more thing before we get going. We talked a lot about Hotel Levesque, which of course is more an independently minded property. Now, in the heart of Chicago, you guys have not one, not two, but three properties in one building, a tri-branded hotel, the Hilton's at McCormick Place with Hilton Garden Inn, Hampton Inn, Home2 Suites. How do you think about branded hotels, for example, versus the independent hotels? What's the difference in your strategic approach?
It's really, for me, about where we spend our time and money, because in the branded ecosystem, the brands are going to give you a lot to start with. So in the branded ecosystem, where it's a very heavily branded hotel, we have less latitude to be able to sort of do what we want, but it's great because you know you can really focus in on what works. Now, the Hilton's at McCormick Place is a little bit of an anomaly because that property gets to have its own vanity website. We got approval for that. That's not common, but we do have a lot of Hamptons, Fairfields, things like that, like pure run-of-the-mill sort of branded properties. So for those, what I'm thinking about is content, because that is how you're going to stand out on brand.com. So I'm using my same process, my owned digital first. Is brand.com optimized to the best possible way that it can be optimized?
What does that mean by optimizing it? Because for me as a consumer, I go on brand.com sites and they don't really give me the depth of information that's going to get me excited. I'm typically clicking buy because I need to be in that location.
Yep. And that's what optimization is depth of information. So the best photos and the most descriptions that really tell everything you possibly can about that property. So if you've got a 500 character limit, you better be at 499 or 500 characters. You want to eke out every bit of information that you possibly can on that, because that's where people will go. And we don't have a lot of control over what packages are listed or how things are laid out, because the brands handle all of that. So all the best photos you possibly can have for every single room type, every single view. If it's a premium room type and you don't have a photo for it, you got to go back and re-get those photos. If you've had an update to your rooms and you think you can just work with a local photographer or just get away with a couple new shots, please don't. That is where you have to invest. Secondarily to that is use the brand system. So Cody is the paid media management platform for Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, and IHG. So Cody is going to be your best friend. It's where you can deploy paid media spend through OTAs and to drive direct bookings. So for a lot of hotels in the branded ecosystem, you let the OTA sort of run the house. You play that game. Well, the brands want you to have parity, meaning that the rate on brand.com is the best rate possible. But can you make sure that those OTA listings are optimized as well? And then if you're doing paid media spend, are you focusing on driving direct bookings? So we, as an example, across our portfolio have about a 34% brand.com contribution, meaning that 34% of travelers book through brand.com. It equates to about 150% of our share. So fair share for us would be 100%. It's about 150% fair share for brand.com contribution. So making sure that brand.com and your OTAs are optimized with all the right content, visual and written, and then directing all of your paid media spend through those channels is great. And where can you upgrade from there? So again, I mentioned virtual tours before. We use those as well, even in those branded hotels.
So, I have one more serious question. I know you went to Indian River State College. Congratulations, you graduated. And our producer, Dr. Producer Suzanne, teaches there and is working on our institute. And one of the things she does is this, and so do you. Did you learn how to do the 2 thumbs up from Indian River State College?
I did not. I am a Rhode Islander, a Rhode Island native, and an Irish person of an Irish family, and we gesticulate a lot. Anthony, you are also a gesticulator.
Hey, they're joined. The Italians and the Jews do the same thing.
Yeah, so I am definitely. I try to do the same thing too when I'm on stuff like this, but I'm a 2 thumbs up person for that reason.
That's
I
funny.
was in an interview once, and somebody said, "Can you kind of have the conversation without using your hands so much?" And I said, "Sure." So I literally was trying to sit on my hands, and I think before my hands even got a little warm, 2 seconds, and I was like, and he goes, "I'm glad you." At the end, he goes, "I'm really glad you tried to not use your hand. I appreciate that." I said, "You're welcome." And he goes, "I'm kidding." You know what?
You did try. People don't understand how hard it is.
You should, like this, podcast. This hour we spent with you is literally an intro class to marketing 101 hotels. And I can't thank you enough. You're so smart and so articulate and so passionate. And the company's really lucky to have you.
Emily, thanks so much. I got one more question for you before we go, because you're focused on those restaurants so much. What do you think about local micro influencers within those communities to help boost business at food and beverage outlets?
Great question. I love micro influencers. Part of the reason is that, like we said earlier, you roll up your flag and you're looking to attract people who get it. So if you can get an influencer, they might only have a reach of 500 people. In Vero Beach, we have an organization called the Buggy Bunch, and it's moms who are around often during the day with their young children. And so if I am a restaurant that has a lunch special and great patio seating, and I like kids and a good kids menu, I might be working with members of the Buggy Bunch. And that is a very small group, but they will spend their dollars with you. So I would definitely say micro influencers are a way to go. But to circle it back to the conversation we had earlier, you need to know who your customer is and what your business is. And if those two things don't connect with one another, it's not going to be any good. So I think the appropriate micro influencers are a great way to go.
And remember, it's not the volume of people, it's the
quality.
It's the right quality of people. Exactly,
quality
Emily.
Over quantity.
We could get 250,000 views on this video, for example, but they aren't really going to help us support our advertiser, Choice Hotels, for example, right? On the development side.
It's very interesting. My friend Joe Isadori, who owns Arthur & Sons in New York, he's doing micro influencers. I'm telling you, it's blowing up. I go there and everybody online recognizes him from TikTok and recognizes the influence that was there. Say, "Oh, I saw you on so-and-so page." It's like I literally saw it a couple of weeks ago for the first time, and it was insane. His restaurant is the hottest New York City Italian restaurant because of micro influencers.
Wow.
People trust people.
Emily, what's the difference? People. What's the difference that people should look out for between micro influencers and people who just want a free meal and say they have a following?
Have a good contract together. I always ask for what are the stipulations with working with you. And some people, a lot of influencers now, it's not unpaid, right? So they're looking for something. It's work to put that content together, to get those photos together, to write that copy. You all are content creators. This is work. It takes work. So expect that it should be a reciprocal relationship. So I would make sure that if they don't have a contract, you get one with them. How many pieces of content, when does it get posted? How long is that copy? Is it on a website or social media? Treat it like it's a business, treat it professionally. And again, if that's what you're looking for, you will attract micro you'll attract other micro influencers also, but it gives you the opportunity to say, yes, this works, or no, this doesn't. So treat it professionally and look for people who do the same.
All right, Emily, we could go on and on and on. We'll have to get you back here, next time for sure. Emily, thank you so much for being here. What an informative conversation. You are the best, or I should say.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. Have a great day.
All right, see you later. Bye-bye. All right, that was really refreshing there, Anthony.
It was so much fun. And like I said, when I came off stage, Emily was coming. She was below stage and she came over to me and we hung out and we talked a little bit. And I was like, wow, what a passionate human. But I didn't realize how smart she was and how good she was and how articulate she was. And then when I asked her why, and she gave me that great answer, like that's what this business is about, you know?
Yeah.
And so I really enjoy that. And, you know, it's funny because I never know who's going to be on the show. And sometimes I go, who are we talking to? A marketer?
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds boring. It was great. I know. And I didn't know Emily. And I didn't know.
Listen, it's funny. The same thing happens when it comes to marketing and public relations as happens to our shows. Some days we think it's going to be, this is going to be the best. And then people or we don't respond to it. And then other times we're like, really? Not in this case for me, Emily. Just don't think that. But other cases are like, really? I don't know how this is going to go.
I didn't realize Emily was coming on.
No, I'm just saying in general, not attached to her specifically.
Like, we're going to talk about a hotel company's marketing person. I'm like, okay, where's this going? And then I'm like, oh my God, it's one of my favorite podcasts we've ever done because such a young, intelligent woman was able to articulate a point of view, not just talking, you know, about passion, but really the why this works, why doesn't this work. She answered every question. There wasn't ever a hesitation. And she is now taking my place as your partner.
Thank goodness. It's about time. I don't want to do that. I don't want to rush away too quick because I love working with you every single day. But tomorrow on Friday Night Audit, we got somebody that you know and love who's going to be on the show. The one and only Chris Green is going to be joining us there. I guess he's feels like his job as divisional president at Remington is too much for him and wants to end that career by joining us tomorrow night. So that should be.
I was like, oh, he's trying to really screw his career.
Yeah, so join us for that. Next week, I'll be at the Lodging Conference. We're going to have a lot of great content. Then the week after that, we got some stuff going on. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of great shows coming up. We got a packed fall, Anthony. I'm really excited about that.
Yes, we do, my friend.
All right, so before we go, remember, if you're watching us, why not give us a shot with our audio podcast? Listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We're in the top 1% of all podcasts on the planet. That's almost 3 million podcasts. We're in the top 1% of those. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. And if you're listening to us, why not give us a look? Find us on YouTube. Find us on LinkedIn. Find us on Facebook. Find us at novacancynews.com. All right. What are you laughing about over there?
I'll just say this and you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Someone disinvited themselves to a wedding they weren't invited to. Glenn understands.
That was absolutely delightful. All right, everybody. Remember, we've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See y'all next week in Phoenix if you're there.